Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I realized that I go live every week, usually twice a week in this group and in all my groups and on LinkedIn. We're going live on YouTube, and I'm not sure everybody knows who I am. So I decided to start out my lives again, introducing myself. Who am I? I'm Nancy Ganzakoffer. I'm a business coach, a life coach, and a body language trainer. I run the Interior Design Business Forum group of almost 9,000 people now, Lesley, the coaching hotspot, and of course we're live in other places. So these are my groups, these are my channels, and I am here with my fairly new, in the last 2 or 3 months, associate coach Lesley Myrick. Lesley, introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's good to meet everybody officially if we haven't met yet. Like Nancy said, I'm Lesley Myrick. I am a luxury interior designer and I work with high achieving families in the Atlanta, Georgia area. I have been in the design industry for 17 years and been coaching designers and helping them kickstart their business and just do things confidently for about the last 4 or 5 years. So I've been with Nancy for a few months. It's been a great fit. I coach with Nancy. She was one of my first business coaches and worth every freaking penny. So happy to be doing this with her and, being in front of you guys every week on these lives and in our coaching groups.
You know what? It's amazing how your experience as an interior designer coaching with me and then other coaches as well have brought you to the place you are today, which is now coaching again, still running your own interior design business, rocking and rolling. And, but one thing that always happens to all of us is this thing that everyone goes, I'm so overwhelmed. Happened to me today. I woke up
this morning too. I looked at my to-do list and went, I can't get this all done.
Right. Maybe it's something in the air. Maybe it's a full moon. We all start doing that thing. I had a blood test this morning. I'm going through some medical stuff. And it gets overwhelming when you're running a life and a business. Yeah. So this is something that you and I talk about all the time on the Business Helpline, which is our walkie-talkie app for our clients. And they leave messages. And this morning, it was not just one, it was multiple of people who were feeling overwhelmed. So we decided to talk about this today. So here's some tips for handling overwhelm when running a business and a life. Now, why did I put it in quotes? Lesley knows why. So I don't like to use the word overwhelm. I feel like when you use the word overwhelm, it just reinforces the feeling of having too much to do. So what I like to say is just say, I have a lot to do today, and I'm not sure how I'm getting it all done. So let me try to figure it out. It's such a big difference when I say that to myself than, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. Right? I don't know if you've tried this yet, Lesley, this word replacement, right? It's, and I've never actually said this out loud, I think, but I'm also NLP certified. So neuro-linguistic programming, it's all about the language we use when we talk to ourselves and when we talk to other people. Have you ever tried not to use the word overwhelm when you're feeling overwhelmed?
When you're in it, when you're in the overwhelm, it's hard to remember. It's hard to even have that perspective because your emotions are so high and you're feeling the overwhelm. But if you can take that second, because you're absolutely right, the words have power. Overwhelm shuts it down. You're not getting out of overwhelm. You are sunk in the quicksand. But if you can reframe it, like you said, I have a lot to do today. That to me already, like I have a lot to do today and I can make progress on it, but I can handle it. And that already gets your brain and almost like I feel sort of like lifted up even saying it. It almost gets your body in a place where you're like, yeah, I have a lot to do and I can handle it. Whereas overwhelm is like, nope, I'm done. I'm overwhelmed. I'm a blob on the floor. Like shut it down.
Exactly. Oh my God. I could go on. I could literally talk about this one thing for 15 minutes, but maybe we'll do that another time. Right? All these word replacements, that's actually a good idea for a live, kind of like the fact that I tell people to use the word investment level with their clients,
instead of
not
budget.
The word budget, because budget makes people want to.
Important one.
Oh my God, they want to sit on their wallets. But anyway, I digress. Let's go to tip number 2. So tip number 1, don't use the word overwhelmed. Just go, wow, I have a lot to do today. And then tip number 2, brain dump it. You did it this morning. What does that mean to you? Brain dump it.
I think as people who run businesses who have lives and families and relationships, there's so much up here. And I find that when I'm so worried about losing my to-do list, it kind of almost incites even more panic. If I can just go into my I use Asana for task management, pen and paper, Google, it doesn't matter. Somewhere, start writing down all the things floating in your head, all the little teeny tiny to-dos, and I have to pick up the dry cleaning, and I have to work on this new document, and I have to revise my contract, and I have to get back to this client, I have to make a tile selection. We all know that's going to be spinning in there. And when it's churning into crazy town, you're not going to be able to focus and get any of it done. There's a ton of value in getting it out of here and even just onto paper, even if it's a hot mess. There's time to revise that, and we'll talk about that too. But I think there's a lot of power in getting it out of here and freeing up your mind to help you get out of that overwhelmed feeling.
Yeah, and I use my calendar for my work stuff. And yes, I put personal appointments on there also, just so people can't get on my calendar for an appointment. But when it comes to like today, I've got to run to this store, that store, pick up a prescription, do that. I tend to just go old school, yellow pad, right? When I wake up in the morning and I go, oh, I have to run to the food store and grab this. I have to call so-and-so for that. I got to follow up with whoever. I tend to put that on a piece of paper, my personal stuff. This is just my method.
Mhm.
And then all my work stuff goes to my calendar, which we're going to be talking about in the next 2 tips from now. So let's go to the next tip, number 3.
Slow and steady.
Oh my God, we are all in a rush constantly. And when we feel that word of we have a lot to do, we tend to try to move faster. But that tends to backfire on us because I don't know if you've ever stood in a room and walked around in circles for a while because I'm trying to move so fast that I actually get nothing done.
Yep. I even do that digitally. I read through my to-do, look at my calendar. I go and check on Facebook. I come back here and I'm like, it's been 30 minutes and I've done nothing. And I'm feeling less ahead. Like I had the time. I could have accomplished one task, but metaphorically, and I've done it too. How many times do I go check my kitchen throughout the day while I'm working from home? Like, I don't need anything. I don't need
It's
a
so
snack.
true.
Why am I here? Go back to your desk and get things done.
Yes. And it is that. And this isn't even one of the tips, but it is. You brought up a really good point. Noticing when your brain jumps to something else
Yeah.
is really important because that moment when you notice that you're getting distracted, you need to go back because the slow and steady wins the race. Don't beat yourself up. Don't worry about, oh my God, I can't believe I keep doing this. Just go, oops, let me go and refocus myself. So it's really important. I love tip number 5. I didn't put this in any kind of order, but this is the message I left for all of my clients this morning. When you're feeling like you have a lot to do and you're unfocused and maybe you're uptight, maybe a little depressed sometimes in the morning when you wake up like, oh, I want to be doing other things, but I have to do this. Dance like no one is watching. Put on your favorite music from when you were in high school, college, I don't care, or whenever, and dance. I was putting my makeup on this morning and doing my hair, trying to make myself feel better, dancing to music and smiling at myself in the mirror, which sounds so stupid. But as a body language trainer, it's not always the body language that matches the emotion. You can actually change the body language to change the emotion.
Yes.
Right? So everybody try it. Like literally, if you sit here,
you're going to feel real stupid, but it's going
it's
to
so
work.
silly that you can't help but like get the emotion then behind it. Force yourself to smile. You'll feel silly, sometimes a little stupid, but it works. And if you're out in public, it really makes people look at you too, by the way, and look them in the eye and say hello. Right? It's just this whole, you're the only one who can get yourself out of this feeling. So take ownership of it and do something about it, which is what I'm all about, right? When you can take control over something that's not going well in your life, in your brain, I want you to do it. So dancing like no one is watching is one way to snap yourself out of it. And I don't know, it works for me really well. Have you ever tried it?
I don't know. I resist it. It's funny because it feels uncomfortable. For me, just putting on good music helps. Like just those good jams from like my high school and college days, and I'm in a
Yes.
whole different frame of mind.
Whole different vibe. All right. So why don't you go over tip number 6 because you love doing this.
Tip number 6 is time blocking with some cushion around it. I know we've all heard that tasks expand to fill the time allotted, but I feel like most of us overschedule our days and try to get too much done. And then we've still accomplished a lot, but we feel disappointed we didn't get everything done. I think it's really helpful. And I say this as someone who lives and dies by my calendar, my to-do list. Like this is how my brain works. But I like to look at my day and I know, okay, at 8:30 is when I start my workday. My kids get home at 4. I know exactly how much time is left. I look at my brain dump, figure out the priorities for the day, and I physically put time in my calendar to say, okay, from 9 to 11, I'm going to work on X client project. And then I might leave it blank from 11 to 11:30. Give myself a little margin either for a break, a quick walk, or if the task goes long, I don't feel like I've screwed myself over for the rest of the day. And I will say it is hard to leave that cushion. It is hard to leave margin when you feel like you have too much to do. And I'm preaching to myself right now because I know what my calendar looks like today and there is not a minute of cushion in it. I'm going to take a look at this when we're done. But that to me, I find that really helpful and it's a reality check. You probably can't get it all done, but spoiler alert, you're never going to get it all done.
Right.
There's hardly ever going to be a day where you get everything done and you're like, check mark, we're finished. We run businesses. There's always something that can be done, that needs to be done, that's on the list that comes up. You need to know your limits. And for me, the calendar is a good physical limit that I can then plan out and say, a couple hours here. But here's a tip with that too. Don't say you're going to work on something for 5 hours. Nobody has that kind of focus or attention span. I've heard like some people say 45 minutes, some people say 90, but I think about an hour and a half, 2 hours is about the max I can focus on something before I start to be checking Facebook and looking for snacks again. Hey, if your day is full of lots of tiny little work chunks, there's a lot of value. And it sounds so backwards to take breaks when you have so much to do.
I
90
know.
minutes of work, 30-minute break. I think you will be blown away with what you can get done during those focused work periods if you give yourself those cushions to chill the heck out, have a cup of tea, go for a walk, watch a few minutes of Netflix, you do you. But yeah, calendar
Yes.
time blocking I wouldn't get done what I do if I wasn't doing this in my business.
Right. And I think you're making such a good point, which I'm actually always finding myself on as well. I fill up my calendar where I can't even breathe half the time. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even like go to the ladies' room today or have a sip of water. So we have we have started to put more space in my calendar. And exactly what you're saying is happening, which I teach, but I'm, the shoemaker without shoes. I actually feel better when I walk away, go for a walk, like you said, have some downtime in my brain.
Yep.
I come back much more focused and quicker. I actually do everything quicker because I've stepped away and I've decompressed. Right. So huge one there. Everybody, you've got to trust us on this one. It feels counterintuitive to give yourself breaks, but it's really, really important.
Yep.
All right. Tip number 7 kind of rolls perfectly into it because then we go into perspective. I can't give myself a break because I have so much to do, but think of a moment in the past where you have felt the way you're feeling when you're juggling so much. And when you feel like crying because you have so much to do and how are you going to get it all done? If you sat quietly with yourself and thought of a moment in the past where you have felt the same way and realized that you're sitting here today, that you got through that moment. And how did you do it? Well, first of all, you don't have to do anything and you're going to get through the moment, right?
That's huge.
Okay. It's
wow. Yeah.
feeling, right? So recognize that the word overwhelm, which I don't like to use, but the feeling of having so much to do will pass. All feelings pass, right? And then prioritizing in a way in your head and realizing nothing is an emergency. I don't care. You know what? I'm a coach, an interior designer. I was an art consultant. There's really rarely an emergency. This is not life or death. These are annoyances. These are emotions that you're dealing with. So putting it in perspective, think of a moment from the past that you've gotten through something similar and realize this will happen again. You will get through this moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's huge.
It's huge. Okay. So tip number 8, you take that one. It is
phone a friend, call your coach, reach out to your best friend. There is something when we're in the word that shall not be named. Like I said before, emotions are high, cognition is low. It is incredibly valuable to call someone that you trust, someone that can just listen and help get you out of those trees and see the whole forest and get a little perspective on things. And it's really hard to do ourselves in that moment. So if you have, a business bestie that you support each other, maybe you're in a networking group or an accountability group, you have an awesome coach like Nancy that you can Vox her with your questions or when you're feeling stuck. There is incredible value in outside perspective. And they don't have to be someone that has a solution. They just need to be able to listen and be there for you and help you through the big feelings and help you get that perspective, what we just talked about before this.
Yeah, I mean, I get pretty much every day at least one of my clients, and I'm not sure how many we have at this point, somewhere around 50, 60, that are messaging me like, I woke up feeling like, oh my God, what am I like, how am I going to get through today? And sometimes it is just hearing my voice and going, okay, you've got this. Make a list. Last week, I had somebody make a list of all their to-dos. I had them pick their top 6 and give them to me via the walkie-talkie app, the business helpline. Then I chose the first one that they had to do and said, message me when you get it done. She messaged me when she got it done. Second thing I chose for her, she got it done. Next thing you know, third one's done. Then I stopped hearing from her. And I'm like, okay, how's everything going? All she needed was me to start that bicycle moving, right? Do you ever have a bicycle that you've stopped and now you have to get it going again? It takes
And
more.
you're falling side to
Yeah,
side.
you're falling. It takes so much effort to get the bicycle moving, where sometimes all you need is that person to say, I got you, do this first, second, and third. And now you're moving that bicycle and you don't need me anymore because I've just helped you start, right? I've been the parent that pushed the bicycle when you're right, getting started
Yeah, it
again.
is like that.
Right. So listen, everyone, there's always things to do. If you called me and said, I have nothing to do, that means you're basically dead, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. If you have nothing to do,
Yeah.
everyone who's alive has things to do. If you had nothing to do, you'd be crying that you had nothing to do. So when you have a lot to do, reframe it in your brain. Go, oh my God, like I'm so lucky that I have all this to do. Now let me just put it in the order that I can get it done.
Yeah.
Right. And you mentioned, I'm going to give this as a bonus. You mentioned when you did your blocking this morning, you did it in a certain way. Tell everybody how you did your task blocking. You put it in categories or something?
Yeah, so I looked, so I use Asana, like I said, but again, this could be on paper. I looked and my task list was like brrr for the day. I was going, well, crap, like I can't get this all. Like it seemed like too much. I didn't even know what task to pick to start. When I started looking at them, I was like, okay, wait a minute. No, this is the big project. This is something I'm working on for Nancy. And the other things that were in there were sort of related to that. They were notes about that. They were extra elements of that. And I realized, wait, I can group those together. So my big to-do list, I still have the same amount of little itty bitty things to do and work on. But instead of looking like this, it's like this. I have this main project, boom, 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 subtasks within it, same thing. And just that visual change changed my outlook on my whole day. I was like, oh, I can handle this now. This is the task. I need to focus on this. And then I know within it, here are the little sub-steps, subtasks that I got to do while I'm working on it, rather than them all being this random
Separate. I love
in my
that.
face thing. Yeah, it's a little thing. Like this is nothing we're sharing is groundbreaking. Like this is all kind of common sense, but it's so hard when you're in the thick of it to
Yeah.
have this perspective and say, oh yeah, because even myself, I had the feeling this morning, listened to Nancy's message, and I was like, oh no, I just need to look at this. And grouping that helped me tremendously not feel like it was so much on my plate for the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So everyone who's feeling overwhelmed, meaning you have an awful lot to do on your plate in your life and in your business, go back to the beginning if you tuned in late and listen to our tips. These are tips you've heard before, but sometimes you just need to hear them again to remind yourself that you're human, it's okay, and everyone feels this way at times, and you're going to get through it. You're going to get through it, and you're going to get to the other side. If you need help, get on my calendar. Go to my website, nancyganzerkoffer.com. Have a button right in the middle saying, talk to Nancy. Often I'm finding that I can move the needle with a person who's feeling this way in one session, like literally. And they don't always need to go ongoing coaching, which I think a lot of people are afraid sometimes to talk to a coach because they feel like they're going to get sucked into some program. I don't suck anyone into a program if they don't need it. I just help them with what they came to me for, right?
Yeah.
You know that. It's just like, you know what? Did this help? Okay, good. See you next time. If you need me, I'm here. If you need or want ongoing coaching, of course, I offer that also. And we have the group, the Profit Insiders for Interior Designers, that Lesley and I coach together. So don't sit in that word, overwhelm, for too long. It's unproductive. If you can't break yourself out of it with the tips we've given, reach out and get some help. And I think that's it for today, right, Lesley?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. All right, everyone. We will see you next Thursday for our Thursday thoughts. And if you have a topic that you are dying for us to address, it could have to do with marketing, sales, pricing, systems, really anything related to running your business,
Yep.
money management, websites, ask us, because that will give us information of what you're really struggling with, that we can help you with and address. All right. See you next time, everyone.
Have a good
Have a great
week.
day. Bye, everyone.